Hey, so in this video we're going to be making another enemy, ScrewDriver. And if you happen to watch the last video on Blaster, you're going to have a severe case of deja vu going through this video. So, because they share a lot of the same properties. So let's take a look at the enemy from the original game, and this is what we'll be creating. So basically, he's below Megaman's bullet when he's standing level. So when he raises up and he shoots a spread of 5 bullets twice. So we're going to basically be doing that today. So let's close this. And this is the previous project where we actually did the blaster enemy. So we're going to just get this out of the way, and we're going to get rid of our blasters because we don't need them anymore. So, and then we can save that. So what we'll do first is we're going to go over to the graphics folder and enemies, and we're going to go to the sprite editor. So now ScrewDriver is over here, and he comes in 2 colors, the orange, aka bittersweet, and the blue, and he's got 5 frames. And the first frame is basically when he's lowered to the ground and he's not attacking. And then he comes up, and then this is basically a 3-frame animation where it looks like he's his cannon's spinning around. So we're gonna cut these out first, and we're gonna do something a little bit different than we did with the previous frames that we've cut out for animations. And the reason what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding some of the transparency and the gap, because we're going to basically be putting our pivot down here at the base here. But because these are not all the same width, when we try to say we set it to bottom center for the pivot location, they don't all line up, which is actually going to cause a problem. So we're just going to cut these out real fast, and then we're going to add some spacing where the missing areas are. And even though it's transparent, it doesn't matter when we're at the end. So like for instance, let's just do the let's just set the pivot. So there's the bottom center. This one's going to be fine being in the bottom center. However, this one, if we set it to the bottom center, you're going to see it's over to the right a little bit, where this one is right in the middle. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this over 1 to account for this section here. So now they basically are lined up. So these ones that are missing this were the spin area. We're just going to drag those over 1 so that basically they all line up the same. So we don't have to try and calculate, oh, okay, we need to move this over. So we're just going to do that first, and then we'll go rename them. This guy, bottom center, bottom center. This we're going to drag over 1, bottom center, bottom center, and then this one is going to be dragged over 1, and then bottom center. There. So now the pivot's even on all of the frames. So now we're going to rename them. So we're going to say ScrewDriver 1, and then we'll say the color, _color. So let's just copy that, and then this will be, I'm going to put that as 2, so we're just going to rename the frames 1 through 5 with the color. So that's 3. That's 4. And that's 5. And then this guy is going to be blue 1. Copy that. And then that's going to be 2. That's going to be 3. That's going to be 4. is going to be 5. So let's apply that. And then I'm going to just set this over to the black and white so you can see. So here's the gap, there's the gap, there's a gap there, and then there's the gap over on this one. So can get out of that and close that. So now we have our images. And if we come over here and expand the enemies, those are under ScrewDriver. So there you go. 1, 2, and we'll just do 3, 4, and 5. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create the game object. So we're going to right click over here, create empty, and then we're going to reset that, and we're going to call it a ScrewDriver. And then we're going to tag him as enemy, and we're going to set his layer to enemy. And then we're going to change his scale, because with all the enemies using that sprite sheet, we'll bump them up to 1.5 on the scale. Then we're going to add on the enemy controller. So it puts on our components. We're going to skip the animator, skip the box collider. Rigid body, we set the static because he's a static enemy as well. He doesn't move around, he doesn't use physics or anything. And on the sprite renderer, we're going to just drop ScrewDriver 1, blue, doesn't matter which one, but we're going to do, because we're going to default the box collider to the size of this sprite. Layer order is 10, and we'll fill in the enemy stuff. Now the enemy stuff is here on this website, and here are the points. So he's worth 500, he has 3 health. If Megaman gets hit by a shot, it takes off 2 health, and Megaman touches him and he takes off 1 health. So do 500, which is already default. His health is 3, and I have really bad memory. Shots are 2, contact is 1. So contact 1 and bullets are 2. So bonus item is a random item. The rest of this is fine. And for audio, I'm going to go over to the sounds folder that we have here. The damage clip, we have enemy damage. So we're going to drop that. Now he doesn't have block like Blaster does, so we don't need to put the dink on that. And for the shoot, that is enemy shoot. And he has no energy refill. And then we'll come back to the positions and prefabs after that. So what we're going to do then is we're going to create an empty off of here. And this is going to be for the hitbox. But before we do that, I forgot. Let's go back to the collider. And if we bring this over, oops, here he is down here. So what we're going to do is reset the box collider, and then I'll put the box collider around the outside of that, and what we're going to do is we're going to change the size of it. So we're going to 0.14 and 0.06. So it's in that 1 pixel area again. So that's fine. We can move that now out of the way, and then back over to the hitbox. And on the hitbox, it's going to be default layer, scale, and everything's fine. We're going to add on a box collider. And on the box collider, we'll go back over to ScrewDriver, and we'll just copy the box collider off of that component. Go back over to hitbox, right click, paste the values, but our hitbox is a trigger. And this is what Megaman will run into to show that, oops, got damage. All right, so that's done. Then we need one more empty, and this is going to be for the bullet shoot position. So bullet, shoot, pause. Okay. So there, that's also going to be on the default layer. The rest of this is all fine. Change the gizmo to the yellow. And we need to change the coordinate of where the bullet shoot position is going to be. So let's go back over to ScrewDriver and bring this over so we can see what's happening. We can actually bring that over. Okay, so right now, so right now the bullet shoot position is down here. What we want it to do is we want it to be here, but what we want it to do is on the frame where he's fully raised up and extended. So we're going to go and change the graphic on ScrewDriver to the final one. It doesn't matter, so it's going to be one of 3 or 4 or 5. So we're just going to pick the one that's got both sides. which is this one, like 4. And so we're going to drop 4, there. So our bullet shoot position, we want to be right there. So we're going to go back over to that. And on the Y, we're going to bring it up. And it looks like a good spot. I'm just going to confirm that real quick. And yep, 0.12. So that's where we're going to have the bullet spawn from this area right here. So now what we're going to do is we can put it back on screwdriver blue number 1 because we don't need that anymore. So there. So that's the bullet shoot position. So now over here we can fill these in. So we have the shoot position, which is this object, the bullet prefab, which we're going to get from our prefabs and projectiles folder, which is called bullet. And then our explosion, and he makes the small explosion, so prefabs and effects, and explode effect number 1. Okay, so he's pretty much all filled out now for everything that we needed, and we're going to have to do the animations. So let's save that, and then we're going to move that out of the way, and then we're going to start with the animations. So go over to the animations folder under enemies and create a new folder. We're going to call it ScrewDriver. Okay, and then inside of ScrewDriver, we're going to create an animator controller, and we're going to call it ScrewDriver. And then we're going to create 2 animations for him. And first one's going to be screwdriver closed. He only has 2 states. He's either open or he's closed. And then we're going to create another animation. We're going to call that one open. So now we need to link these 2 to this. So double click on screwdriver, go back to project, highlight close because we want that one to be the default. Right click over here, select from clip. So closed is now in there, and then highlight the new open one, go back over to animator tab and link in the open. So those are our 2 animations for this guy. So now we're going to create override, and we're going to start with the blue. So we're going to go create animator override controller. So this one's going to be called screwdriver blue, and then we're going to create the 2 animations for that color. So it's going to be screwdriver closed blue and screwdriver open blue. All right, so now for the blue override, we're going to select that. We're going to drag in the main screwdriver controller so it exposes both of the animations that are tied to it. And then we're going to drag over the closed blue and then the open blue. So those are on the override now. So with that set, we're going to go to closed blue, and we're going to change the sample rate to 1 because there's only 1 frame on this guy. And then on open blue, we're actually going to set that to 12 for the frame rate or the sample rate. And we're going to check off loop time. Even though technically he doesn't loop, but we're just going to have it just in case we ever want to just repeatedly up and down and spraying bullets without going to a closed state. But we don't really do that in this, but you could if you want. All right, so then on the screwdriver here, we're going to go over to the animator, and we're going to drag on our blue so that we can add on the frames. So let's drop that there. So on closed, there's only 1 frame. So we're going to go over to graphics, and that's going to be screwdriver 1 blue. Boom. And we'll expand that. So that's the only frame. And unlike Blaster, there are no events on this guy for this frame. So it's just an image and that's it. So then we'll go to open. And on here, this is one where it's going to have a whole lot on it because he has where he opens up and his cannon spins the whole time. And then during that sequence of where his cannon is spinning in the animation, he fires twice. So we're going to have 3 events on this animation two of them which are going to be shooting the bullets, and then the last one's going to say, hey, go back to close state, I'm done. So this one, we're going to start with ScrewDriver blue as the first frame, or number 2, and then we're going to go to number 3, and what we're going to do is we're going to skip frame 1, so we're going to fill in frame 0, frame 2, and then we're going to skip here, and we're going to start with frame 4, and, well, technically 5 since it's 0 based, and then we're going to put in, let's see, oops, made a boo-boo. Actually, the first one's going to be, I believe, frame 1, and then that's going to be frame 2, and then it's going to go into 3, and then it'll go into 4, and then it goes into 5, and then it goes into 4 again. So I can't zoom this in, but you're going to see when we're here, it's going to be the one where the knob is on the right, and then it's going to be where they're both showing, and then it's going to go where it's on the left, and then it goes back to both, and then we're just going to basically alternate this. So we're going to copy these. We're going to basically drop this in 6 times. So we're going to go here, drop it, drop it, drop it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But on this number 6, which this is where it's like, oh, come on. I hate this part. It's like it doesn't want to cooperate. Because once you drop them in, it's like stop. There we go. And then you're going to nuke that last one. So you're going to get rid of that. So over here, we're going to drop in, I believe it is, the last one is going to be, so that's on frame 28. We're going to put on 5. And wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. 2. Drop on 2, and then you're going to drop on 1 over here, which is on frame 30. So let me confirm this real quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's go through them one by one. So on frame 0, it's going to be, I expanded this out so you can see it. So it's going to be the ScrewDriver 1, excuse me, sprite. And then on frame 2, it's going to be ScrewDriver 2. And then on 4, it's going to be 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 4. And then we repeat this sequence, etc. So it should be 3, 4, 5, 4, all the way up until we get towards the end here. So we're going to jump over to frame 24. So we should have 3, 4, 5, but then we nuked this one here. So we're left at 5. We skipped frame 27. We go to frame 28. 28 should be 2. And then the last one, 1. So this is the sequence. And I'm going to bring this over just so you can see it real quick. So here's the frame, and we're going to play it. So that's where he goes up and down, and he spins. So that's the sequence that we just made. So what we're going to do then is we need to adjust his, actually we do need this over here. We need to adjust his box collider. So on here, let's go back over to number 1 or 0. We're going to put it on record. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down to here. just so that we can add this on there. So we're going to put a 1, and we're just going to put a 0, and then we're going to copy this. Actually, wait a minute. Just so that we have both of them on there. And then we're going to say, we're going to copy, and then we're going to go to the hit box, and then we're going to paste. And oops, we're going to put a 1, get rid of that. Put a 1, get rid of that, just so that it adds these over here. And then this one, we're going to remove that property for the checkbox. So that's the first one. The second one, we're going to go back over to ScrewDriver. And on this one, it's going to be, let me see here. .7 and 12 and 7 and 12. So there, those are both of those. And then we're going to come over to this frame, and then on this frame, we're going to put 8 and 14 and 8 and 14. So that's the entire height. And then we're going to come over to this one here, where we're just going to put a 1, back it out, put a 1, oops, put a 1, 14, we're going to put a 1, back it out, put a 1 and back it out. We're just doing that so we can record these. So it's actually, if you don't do it on here, when you do it here, it's going to basically start degrade. It's going to lower the number. So we're just making it so from here to here, it stays the same between these sets of frames. So then we're going to go to this one. And on this one, it's going to be like the other one. So it's going to be 7, 12, 7, 12. And then on the last frame, it's going to be like how we very first started. So it's going to be 4, 0, 6, and 0, 4, and 0, 6. So then you can turn off the recorder. So those are all when this is the hitbox and the box collider. So we play it, you can see it goes up, falls along, and then it goes down. So then we need the events. So on our events, we're going to add it on frame 11, which is going to be here. And then we're going to add it on frame 19, which is actually right there. And we're going to add it on frame 30, the last one, which is there. So this is going to be a point where he shoots, and then this is going to be a point where he shoots. And you're probably like, in the blaster video, I didn't really explain why I picked these spots. Well, I basically counted them out. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's basically even, and that's why I picked this amount of frames, so it's evenly spread for when we shoot the bullets. So that's the reason why I picked all that. So in case you were wondering from like the blaster video, now I'm explaining it in this video. So we're going to save this, and we're going to get rid of that. So our animation is set up for the most part. Now we just have to create the code for the controller class for him, for ScrewDriver, and then we can tie in the actual functions to these events that will shoot the bullets and the animation. So what we're going to do then is we're going to go over to scripts. We're going to right click, create C# script, and we're going to call it ScrewDriver controller. And then we're going to open that up into Visual Studio. And here we go. So like I said, this is going to be a lot of deja vu. So if you followed along with the other video for Blaster, it's pretty much almost identical for like a couple different things. So we need the animator. We're we're going to do our variables right now. We need a box collider, call it box 2D. We need the rigid body 2D, which we call RB2D. And then we need our enemy controller, which we call enemy controller, little e. And then we need to know our bullet type. So based off of, we use our bullet script for that. So bullet types, and then we call our variable bullet type. Okay. Then we need our timer. So we're going to do a float, and it's going to be called open timer. And then we're going to create a public float called open delay. We're going to default that to 1/4 of a second. So that's the timer. Then we're going to have a bool called doAttack. So this is going to basically say, hey, players within range. No, might want to put that first. So public float, and then we're going to call it player range. We're going to default that to 2, so like 2 units. So when our player is within this range of where ScrewDriver is, we're going to trigger this to become true, and then that's when it's going to signal, hey, we should start attacking. So we're going to move on down after that. So then we're going to need a public enum, and this is going to have to do with the colors. So the ScrewDriver colors, and he only has 2 colors. He's got blue and he's got orange. And then we'll do that, and then we'll use a serialized for that, so we can access it through the inspector. So ScrewDriver colors, and we're going to default to blue. Then we need another public enum, and then this is going to be ScrewDriver state. And he's only going to have 2 states, closed and open. And then we need a serialized for that. And we're going to default to being closed. And then another public enum. And this is just like Blaster, where we're going to have an orientation, and we're going to have 4 orientations for this guy. We're going to have him where he can sit on the bottom, which is his default actually, or on the top, which would be him sitting on a ceiling and his head facing down, or left, which I have never seen in the game where he's on the left or right, but we're going to put that in there in case we ever want to have it like that. And then a serialized, and then of ScrewDriver orientation. And we are going to default that to where he's sitting on the bottom and his head goes up. And then we need a serialized for the runtime animator controller. And we're going to say RAC ScrewDriver blue. Just copy that. And then we'll infer the other color, which is orange. So these are the variables that we're using for this guy. So we have the timers, the flags, and then the colors, and all these basically these states. So what we'll then do is we need to add the wake function. We'll get rid of this. And in here, the enemy controller via get component. And then we need the animator from, technically I always use the enemy controller, even though you really don't have to. You could just use get component. It's all the same thing. But I've gotten in the habit of just doing this. And then it's going to be animator. There. And then we're going to copy that just so that we can paste. So then we need the box 2D, which is the box collider 2D, and the rigid body, even though we don't use a rigid body. because he uses static. Okay, so save that. So that's our awake function. Then in our start, we're going to do like we did with Blaster, where we're going to say we're going to function called setColor, and it's going to be ScrewDriver color. And we're going to have another function called setOrientation, and that's going to be based off of which orientation the enum is set to. So we can save that. Then down in the update, so if the enemy controller freeze is true, then we want to return. This guy doesn't have any time discrepancies or anything, so we're just going to kick ourselves out of this function whenever there's freeze and not do any updates. And this one we're going to run through the update. We're not going to do the other, so we'll just go in order. So we need to know where the player is on the screen so that we can calculate the distance between ScrewDriver and the player. So we're going to get the player using GameObject, and we're going to use find object with tag, singular. We're looking for the tag of player because that's what our player has on him. And then we're going to down here, and then we're going to do a switch, and then we're going to say ScrewDriver state. And ScrewDriver has two states, and the first state is he's closed, and his other state is where he is open. So in here, we're going to start with the closed. First thing we do with the closed is we play our animator or the animation, and then that's going to be where he's ScrewDriver closed. So it shows that animation, and we'll just do it order, it's fine. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to check if the player isn't null. Player is not equal to null, and we're not currently performing an attack. And if that's the case, then what we're going to do is we're going to define a float called distance, and then we're going to calculate the distance between ScrewDriver and the player, and we're going to use vector2.distance for that. And this is going to expect two vectors. First vector we're going to send is the transform position of ScrewDriver, and then the player transform.position. So this is going to calculate the distance between these two vectors, and we're save it into this float here. And then what we're going to do is if the distance is less than or equal to that variable we defined above that we exposed in the inspector called player range, which is currently set to 2. So if the player is within 2, then we're going to set do attack equal to true, and we're going to initialize our open timer equal to the value of open delay so that we can start counting down. So now outside of this if here, we're going to say if do attack, so which means that we say he's within range, so we want to start the attack. But before we can do the attack, we want to decrease the timer, which is 1/4 of a second. So it's time delta time. And then once timer reaches 0 or below 0, which means it's run its course, we're going to switch our state. So ScrewDriver state is going to be equal to, we're going to switch it to open. So there. And then next time the frame comes through, the update function runs, we're going to be down in open, and all we're doing in open is we're going to play the ScrewDriver open animation. So that's all we do in there, because the animation with the events is going to trigger the shooting of the bullets and stuff. So we can save that. So this is basically our update function. So it's it's basically like a copy of the Blaster one. So after this, we're going to come here, we're going to define a public void called set color, and this is going to be of type screwdriver colors, a variable called color that we're going to pass, and then we're going to set screwdriver color. No, not that. That is going to be equal to color, and then we're going to set bullet type, which we haven't defined yet, which we will, and set animator controller, which we haven't defined yet. So that's what's going to happen in set color. Now after set color, we're going to do void set animator controller, and in here we're going to switch on the color. So switch screwdriver color, and then we're going to say case first color is blue. We're going to fill this in and we'll copy and paste and edit it. So the animator runtime animator controller is going to be equal to RAC screwdriver blue. And then we're going to copy this and do the same thing for orange. So this is going to be orange. And then down here is going to be orange. So that's setting the animator controller. Then we need to set the bullet type. And set bullet type is going to be void set bullet type. And inside the bullet type, it's the same deal. We're going to switch on the color. So screwdriver color. And the case, and the first one's going to be blue. And then we'll just copy and paste. So our bullet type is going to be equal to bullet types. And for blue, we use the mini blue one. And let me just go back in case you watch. So when we defined our bullets, these were all the bullet types that we added to the bullet script. Default's Megaman's bullet, and then all these are these are the little bullets that come for the enemies with the different colors. So we're going to use the mini blue one for here. So we're going to copy this, and then we're going to paste that, and then screwdriver orange. But because there is actually a literal orange bullet, it doesn't look right. So what we actually use is more of the pink one. So the pink bullet matches the sprite of screwdriver better, like it did with blaster. So we'll save that. So that's for setting the bullet type. Then we're going to set the orientation. So void set orientation. So first thing we're going to do is reset the transform using the identity. So transform so that it basically goes back to default before we do any kind of rotating. So it doesn't rotate off a previous rotation and then it's all messed up. So we're going to say rotation and then identity. So that's the first thing to do. Then we switch on the orientation that's set through the inspector. And first case is going to be the bottom. And with the bottom, what we're going to do is we're going to do this one, then we'll copy and paste and edit the transforms, so or the rotations. So transform.rotate, and in this case, we're rotating. This is our default, so we're not going to rotate anything. So it's going to stay the same. We can actually pretty much like technically just not even include this, but we're just going to put it in. Now we're going to copy this. We're going to drop this 3 more times because we have our top. When we select top orientation, and then we have our left orientation, and then we have right orientation. So now on the top, what we're doing is we're going to change the X 180 degrees. So by default, he's going this way, or he's bottom up. So if you do 180 on the X, it basically turns them the other way. So he's going to basically go top here, face down. So now the left is actually going to be negative 90 degrees. So if he's going this way, that's basically going to turn him clockwise. So his butt's over here and his head's over here. And then this should be positive 90 degrees. So it's going to be the opposite. By default, he's going to be facing from butt up. So if we do right, we want him on the right, we're going to do counterclockwise, so his head's over here and his butt's over on the right. So save that. Then we're going to do shoot bullet. So void shoot bullet. Right, this is very much like any other of the enemies where we're shooting bullets. However, in this case, it's kind of like Mambu. So we're actually going to be creating an array of bullets. So game object, we're going to call it bullets, and we're going to have 5 bullets. So he shoots 5 bullets at once. Perfect. And then we're going to do 5. And then we're going to set the vectors for all those bullets. So vector 2, and we're going to call them bullet vectors. And I'm going to come down here and do that. So our first one, we're going to say new vector 2, and I'll explain the positions of these in a sec. So -1f, 0. We're going to copy that. And I'm going to paste it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. That's actually one too many. So let's get rid of that. Okay, so the next one is going to be a positive 1 and 0. And then you're going to have 0 and 1f. And then you're going to have negative 0.75 and positive 7.5. And then you're going to have 0.75 and 0.75. So basically the 5 bullets that shoot out, this is going to basically, there's no movement on the Y, and this is negative X. This one's going to basically go left. This is the opposite. This is positive on the X and nothing on the Y, so this one's going to go right. So you got one bullet going that way, one bullet going that way. Then you have nothing on the X but a positive Y. That one's going to go straight up. So far you got a triangle. Then you're going to have negative 0.75 and 0.75. So negative is going to be basically going like this on a positive Y-axis. So it's not a 1, it's a 45-degree angle going to the left. And this is the opposite where it's going to be going to the right. So those are the trajectories of our bullets. Then we're going to say for int I equals 0, we have to reposition the bullets based off of orientation next. So I equals 0, I is less than bullets length, and then increment it. So now in here, we're going to basically switch off of ScrewDriver's orientation. And we're going to do, let's see, we're going to start with the bottom. So case, bottom, break. So now with the bottom break, we have no movement. It's going to be default. So this is when he's facing, when he's on his cannon goes up, he's going to shoot up. This is default, so we actually don't make any change to the bullets. But what we're going to do then is for the top, we do have a change. And we created, if you, yeah, I didn't think about that. Let's go over to, let's see here. I have to go back over to this real quick. In case you're skipping the last enemy and you're jumping to this one, in case you didn't do blaster. If you go into utility functions, we created this function in the last video for blaster, and we use it in this so we can rotate the bullets based off a different angle. So you're going to need this function if you haven't already created it. So go into your utility functions and put this function in there. So you can go get it off GitHub, copy and paste it in there, or you can just type it out. You can pause right here so you can type it out and add it in there. This basically rotates the vector of the bullet based off the angle that we want it to be changed to. So got it? Good. All right, move on. So for here, we're going to say bullet vectors of I is going to be equal to the utility function we're going to call. So we're going to rotate by angle, and we're going to use the same bullet vectors of I. And this, we're going to rotate our bullet 180 degrees. So this is basically, these are exactly the orientations of where he is. We're rotating the bullets the same way. So top is 180, and then these are going to be like this for the left and the right. So what we can do is we can just copy this and drop it 2 more times, because then we have the left and we have the right, and then for the left it's negative 90 degrees, and for the right it's positive 90 degrees. So that'll rotate our bullets accordingly based off his orientation so that the bullets fire in the right directions. Then we're going to actually create the bullets. Let's save that. So bullets, I think I didn't put that in the right spot. Here. There. Bullets of I is going to be equal to instantiate, and we're going to instantiate our enemy controller bullet prefab. There is that. Then, because I'm OCD about certain things, we're not going to have the word clone in the title, the bullet that gets created, so we're going to rename it to based off of the enemy controller bullet prefab dot name. And then we're going to set the transform's position. So bullets I, and let's see, dot transform position, and the position is going to be the bullet shoot position that we created, that child. So enemy controller dot bullet shoot pause dot transform dot position. So that's where the bullets are going to basically originate from. Then we're going to have the bullet script. So bullets of I get component bullet script. And the first things we're going to do is set the bullet type. That's going to be what we set up earlier, which is bullet type. We're going to copy this because we need it, I think, 1, 2, 3, 6 more times for different things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The second one we're going to do is set the damage value. So set damage value, and then that's going to be based off of enemy controller bullet damage. Then our next one is going to be, why is it doing that? Is going to be set bullet speed, and that's going to be based off of enemy controller and then bullet speed. And then after the speed, we're going to set the direction. So set bullet direction, and the direction is going to be bullets, or bullet vectors I, bullet vectors I. So whatever direction of that one, because we're going to loop through each of the 5 bullets. So this is bullet, first bullet, and we'll do it again for the second, third, fourth, and fifth. And then after the direction, we need to do set collide with tags. And who do we want to collide with? We want our bullets to basically attack the player. So we're going to set the tag to be player. So that's where we want our bullets to be able to collide with. And then we're going to say set destroy delay, and we're going to default that just to 5 seconds. And if the bullet happens to go outside the camera, then the game manager will remove it that way. Otherwise, it'll stay on screen for 5 seconds. It stays within camera view. And the last one that we call is actually to shoot the bullet. So there. Then after this, down here, we're going to play the sound. So sound manager, instance, play, and then we're going to say enemy controller, and then we're going to say shoot bullet clip. So this is our shoot function. Basically almost like any other shoot functions that we've used, except this is going to be an array of 5 bullets. So it's pretty much like Mambu, except there's a lot more orientations with this. He doesn't have any of those. So then our last function that we write is going to be for our when we stop our open animation. So we're going to say private void open animation stop. And the only thing we're going to do in here is we're going to say do attack is equal to false. We're no longer attacking because we're stopping the animation. And then we're going to change our state. And our state is going to be equal to closed because we were open at this time. So if we save that, that is our script for ScrewDriver. It's very much like Blaster, and it's a lot of deja vu involved in this one. So with that done, we're going to go back over to Unity, and now we have our events, right? So our first event here, just to make sure that we are on that, we're going to say that one's going to be, let's see, go back over to ScrewDriver, and you need to add on the script. So drag the script over onto him, and then now here are all the properties, and we're going to set these last, the runtime animator controllers. So now back over here, if we go back to this event, now we have all these things. So we want shoot bullet on frame 11 and on frame 19. Same, we want shoot bullet. And then on this last frame 30, we want open animation stop, which switches us back to go back to closed. So set that right? Yeah, closed. Okay, so shoot bullet, open animation stop. So you can save that. So that is for blue, and now we're going to duplicate those and do it for orange. So go back over to your animation ScrewDriver folder, duplicate your blue override controller, let's highlight it and do Control D, and you're going to rename that one to orange, and then you're going to duplicate your closed blue, and you're going to make that one orange, and then you're going to duplicate your open blue, and you're going to call that one open orange. So now if you go to your orange override here, we're going to drag over closed orange and open orange. So if we drag this out, it should be on the orange, and it should be orange and orange here. So that's good. So with that, can go back over to ScrewDriver, and you're going to override, because right now we have the blue on there, so we're going to change it to the orange one so we can edit it. So and if we expand this out, it should say orange. Yes, it does. So we're going to change this graphic. So go over to graphics here, and then go find ScrewDriver, and we want ScrewDriver 1 orange. Boom. So that's orange there. So then we're going to go to open. This one's going to be a little bit more of a pain. So we want orange 1 there, orange 1 at the end. The next one's going to be orange 2, and then orange 2. And then what we're going to do is orange 3, I believe, and then orange 4, and then orange 5, and then orange 4. Now here what you're going to do is you can, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this. This is where it's going to cause some issues. We're going to overwrite there. Copy the, highlight those 4, copy them, click on to this frame, paste them on top, go to frame 13, frame 12, paste them on top, and then frame 16, paste them on top, frame 20, paste them on top. But it's not a good idea to do these because that's going to cause a problem. So this one is going to be, if we look at this and stretch this out, that is ScrewDriver 3. So we're going to drop number 3 there. And then this one should be ScrewDriver 4. and then this one should be ScrewDriver 5. All right, so when we duplicated and we dropped those in, what it ended up doing was dropping in these frame things too. So what we want to do is nuke those. So right click on that, delete the key, delete the key, delete that key, delete that key, delete, 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 delete. There. So now it's back normal. Okay. So then we should still have this as shoot bullet, and open animation stop. So now we can go back over to ScrewDriver and then go to the animations and just drag on the main controller. So then you can save that. So let's see. Then we're going to turn them into a, well, before we do that, before we turn in prefab, now we're going to drag these over. So runtime animator controller for blue, put it over there on the ScrewDriver controller for the game object. So drag that over on the blue, and then drag over the orange one. There. So then we can save, and we're going to make him a prefab now. He's all complete. So we're going to go over to prefabs, enemies, and drag in ScrewDriver. Boom. So now he's set. So we're going to put him in the scene, and we're going to try him out real quick. So let's go bring this over real quick. We can shrink this down. Bring this over. Maybe bring this down a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. And then bring this up. Okay, so for this, we are going to set our first one. We're going to do one first and we'll add the others. So let's go here to this one. And the position we're going to do for the I is going to be negative 6.456. And then on the Y, that's going to be 2.397. So now if we zoom over to here, we're going to put him basically right there at the end of the second highway. So let's play this. I'll save it and then play it and see what it looks like. All right, so we're going to come over here. So far he hasn't activated. He should when I get within 2. There he goes. And there he shoots. And I'm outside his range again, so he's not going to attack anymore. So now if I come over here and jump, and then I'm still within his range, so he's going to keep going. Alright, so I'm going to go invincible real quick. So I'm going to shoot, and my bullet should go over him. Yep, just like in the game. So he's lower than my bullet, which is good. And then he should take 3 shots. 1, 2, 3. And he's gone. Just like the game, and he gave me 500 points. Cool. So now, let's going to check all the orientations and everything next. So I'm going to go down here on the bottom, and we're going to say, let's assume he's, well, before we do it, let's change his color. Let's do the color, and we'll play it. So he should come up as an orange one now, and he should shoot out those pink bullets. And okay, so let's go over here. There's the pink bullets. So, and there's my bonus ball. Cool. So expected, done as expected. Okay. Orientations. So let's do, we'll put them back to blue, and we're gonna switch it to, let's do top. And because it's top, we're gonna assume there's like a ceiling above him, even though there isn't, just so he's above Mega Man's head. So let's run that. Now he should basically, his butt should be here, and he should extend down and start firing, and his bullet should basically be firing downward. There we go. Okay. Now let's try left. Now being left, he should basically start shooting that way. So what we'll do is kind of put them like right about there so that it'll extend. He'll basically have, he'll be vertical and he'll go out this way and start shooting bullets that way. Okay. There he is. He shoots that way. Very good. So then we're going to do the opposite. We're going to do check right, and being right, he should start firing bullets that way and extend out going leftward. Yep, there we go. Very cool. Okay, so now what we'll do is we're going to just finish off our scene. We're going to put him back at 6.456 and 2.397. We're going to put him back there, and we're going to have him so he base back bottom again. And then we're going to duplicate this guy. So let's just move this out of the way real quick. Shrink that. Duplicate him. And then this one we're going to put at same left, but on the Y, we're going to put 1.647. And we're going to make this one orange, but top. So he's going to open, he's going to shoot downward. And then we're going to make a third one. And this third one we're going to put at 8.73 and negative 0.79. And this guy's going to be orange, but he's going to open, he's going to shoot, he's going to open right, so he's going to be shooting left. So with all that, we're going to save that, bring this back over, and we're going to check this out. So we have one here and one here. There. So one on the top of the highway, one on the bottom of the highway. So let's go down here and check it out. Very cool. Got a bonus ball. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult because he's just high. He is just high enough where I can touch him with my bullet. Or low enough, I mean. There's one. There we go. Okay, so then we'll move on. Camera transition. We're going to come over here, and I should have my third one over here. Hopefully he's not way up in the sky like the other with the blaster video. There he goes. Can't really get him. Just a little bit. Just good. There we go. Bonus ball. And camera transition. Checkpoint reached. Boom. And we'll stop it right there. So that's our next enemy that we created, which is ScrewDriver, and he's very much like Blaster. He shares a whole lot of the same properties, except he doesn't have the invincibility. He doesn't do, I guess you could say, like an incrementing bullet shoot, where it just goes through each vector and then resets itself. So this guy just sprays by twice. But the same deal, we do it through animation events and et cetera, et cetera. So that brings us to the end of this video. So that's another enemy created. We're going to have one more video before the end of the year to knock out 2020. Still haven't decided what we're going to do yet. It's a toss-up between cinematic type of timeline stuff, or it's going to be like scene transitions, where we're going to go from possibly a start screen and then we go into this scene. So I'm leaning towards that one because the cinematic one is a little bit more, I don't know, maybe a little bit more time consuming, but that one I find a lot more fun. So I don't know, but we're going to tie them together in 21. And the first video will be on one of the others that I don't pick. And then the second video in the year will be where we bring them together, and it'll be really cool. So we'll do something like a little storyline type deal. So if you don't have the source code, it's up on GitHub, so you can get the link in the description. You can download the project, but if you've been following along, cool. So now you got one more enemy that you can work with. Um, Otherwise, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, then subscribe. And we're knocking out Mega Man little by little. So have a good day, stay safe out there, and I'll catch you at the next video.